Anyways, so Maria wrote, "Hey brother, I love your tracks. I'm about to order many. My friend who has a food ministry is in the process of getting her own building, and I shared with her the tracks, and she will be ordering lots as soon as she gets in there and sets up an area with books, Bibles, etc. Wanted to share how I was able to use one of them the other day on the phone with someone from the bank. At the end of the transaction with a young lady, instead of sharing the gospel from my head, I actually opened up one of your tracks on my phone that said, "Thank you." Okay, the thank you track. And I proceeded to thank her for her service and read her the gospel. She was very grateful and said she needed to hear that, even though she was a believer. I proceeded to share more with her about the Holy Spirit and encouraged her to take every opportunity to share the gospel. I'd love to encourage the chat room family to buy your tracks, and always remember that it's a great opportunity to have a captive audience via phone calls. That's right, absolutely. I found it so easy to read from the track. Got right to the point in a matter of minutes. How easy is that? Um, so, so Maria wanted to allowed me to share that testimony with all of you, and and let that be an encouragement, an exhortation to you to keep gospel tracks in your pocket, in your wallet, in your purse, in your car, and the thank you tract that Maria mentioned as a tract I wrote many years ago, and several others have taken that idea and run with it. But anyways, that tract I wrote, the thank you tract, I was thinking, how can I encourage people who might otherwise not hand out gospel tracts or might be hesitant or nervous or uh, um, about about communicating the gospel to strangers. What is something that we say to people a lot uh, day to day? And that's thank you, right? You say thank you for the guy that put air in your tires. You say thank you to the postal worker who sold you some stamps. You say thank you to the cashier at the grocery store. You say thank you to the receptionists at the doctor's office. You say thank you to the teller at the bank. You're saying thank you a lot just to be polite. Well, how easy is it then, as you're saying thank you, to say thank you and hand them a gospel tract that says thank you on the front, and then thanks them for their service, good, bad, or otherwise, on the back of the tract, and then transitions into the gospel. One of the easiest ways I can think of to put a gospel tract into someone's hand is by simply saying thank you. So those are available at 1milliontracts.com, 1milliontracts.com. There's a search window, I'm sure, on the page, and just type the words thank you in the search window, and that'll bring up that tract. And so I would encourage you to hand those out. It's my Maria, Mrs. Miano, carries them with her wherever she goes. That's a way that she's able to communicate the gospel to people. And in fact, if we go out together and we're at a restaurant or something like that, and it's time to pay the bill and leave, I'll say, Maria, do you have a thank you tract? And she pulls one out of her purse, and I leave that with a tip. So my semi-annual, biannual, triannual rant about that. We might as well do it now. Um, Never, ever, 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 never leave a gospel tract instead of a tip. Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever, 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 ever do that. Don't you ever do that. Don't. It's terrible. Service workers, particularly wait staff in restaurants, hate to work Sunday afternoons because that's when the cheap, chintzy, um, Karen-esque Christians come in for lunch right after church and might leave a gospel tract instead of a tip. That's reprehensible. Reprehensible. Oh, well, they need the gospel more than they need money. Shut up. Yes, they need Christ more than they need a tip. Yes, but they're working for a living. And they may not hear what you're saying in the gospel tract because your actions are speaking too loudly. So if you're going to leave a gospel tract with wait staff, if you're going to leave a gospel tract anywhere where it is customary and expected to leave a tip, then you not only leave a tip, but you leave a generous tip. You leave a generous tip. I never tip less than 20% anyways, and I always round up to a higher percentage when I'm leaving a gospel tract. I want the person to know that I care for them and I care for their soul. It's not an either or, it's a both and. And so never, ever leave a tip instead of a gospel or leave a gospel tract instead of a tip. But if you're going to leave a gospel tract, um, leave a generous tip, whether they've earned it or not. And the tract I wrote indicates that on the back of the tract. Look, your service to me today may or may not have been wonderful. It may not have been your best day, but I'm still leaving you a tip. And and I want to thank you for your service and here's the gospel. So make sure to do that. So